I would like to, if possible, draw on both what you've learned in your job per se, helping to train and guide Afghan troops, and also just your observations about the population dynamics and the sentiments of the people and where their hearts are, and what are the ingredients of Taliban success and Taliban failure. And I'd just like to start with something you said earlier, when I think you talked about the Taliban trying to intimidate local people into kind of not siding with your cause. That was going on in Kandahar. Is that right?
There is a lot of intimidation. It's probably an overstatement to say that the Taliban rules purely by intimidation. There is a lot of local support, and it is largely a local force. Pakistanis and so on are picked up pretty quickly in that kind of environment. They just don't fit in. Are a lot of locals. Obviously, a lot of them do cross the border for various reasons, but it's very much a Pashtun insurgency. The insurgents themselves, certainly there's some religious extremism in their ranks. We saw some attacks on girls' schools while we were there. But I guess my point is that the local support is there. They do embark on all kinds of campaigns of intimidation, assassination. That's really against people who oppose them, and against them they when someone sticks their neck out, and whether it's a mullah giving a speech in a mosque or a female police officer getting attention, they rapidly become a target for a campaign of intimidation, leading sooner or later to assassination.
And why is the support there to the extent that the support is there? I would think that's a real problem for us to the extent that there is just indigenous support for the Taliban. What is the source of the support?
Well, I think that's a really good question. There is, I think, a limited ability. There has been a limited ability up to this point to really extend what can be seen as positive effects into these people's lives.
By us, you mean?
Yeah, I think so, and by the Afghan central government too. I mean, but the insurgency itself is it's rejectionist. It's decentralist. It does not want Kabul running things, and it's strongly anti-foreigner. And this is part of the difficulty that to the degree the Afghan central government is associated with a large foreign armed presence, it can be as much of a turn-off for the local people as and that's why I think that General McChrystal's right, that we need to move to putting the lead security responsibility for areas like Kandahar province over to Afghan forces as quickly as possible.
Okay, so it sounds like the support for the Taliban lies partly in skepticism about the Afghan central government, partly in the presence of foreign troops, right? I mean, resistance to the idea of foreign troops being there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would seem to me a real problem for us, for troops that we send over there, if they themselves are the source of if their presence, is the source of the resistance.
Well, yeah, there's no question. I mean, we distort the economy and the normal way of life in all kinds of unintentional ways. I worked largely at a Kandahar airfield, which is a tremendous sort of has a tremendously distortionate effect on the economy. What with thousands of Westerners living there and all their requirements, and what that does to the market. Hey, take interpreters for example. We needed more than we had, but interpreters tend to be people who are educated, who could also be doing something else useful for that population.
Okay, now, somebody described to me the tension as being partly between kind of a rural versus urban cosmopolitan tension in Afghanistan. Is that fair to say that the Taliban is basically getting their support in the more, not in the urban centers by nature, but in the kind of villages, and to some extent its resentment against cosmopolitan elites in the cities?
Well, I don't know that anything about Kandahar city could really be described as cosmopolitan, and certainly the city itself is not, in isolation from the countryside around it. What we saw a lot of when we were there was Afghans who, for whatever reason, they were just farmers, but who lived in the city except during times when they needed to go to their farms to plant or to harvest. Mm-hmm. There is a place north and west of the city called Hakrez, where there are a large number of Sufi shrines. One of the nifty things about being a young man in Kandahar is on a particular holiday, Nowruz, you and all your friends drive up into the mountains to look at the view, and then come back to the city. The city is very much integrated, at least in Kandahar's case, into the countryside around it, and so that sort of rural-urban split. It's not that it's not there, but maybe it could be a little overstated.
Okay.